So here's what's absolutely ridiculous. This is my pillow. This is my tent. The pillow is more than half the size of the tent. Ugh. This is going to be a fun video because I've decided to use a 200-year-old map to try and find somewhere I can stealthily camp with my new ultralight teeny tiny, but hopefully totally not terrible tent. Because the last time I was out testing a teeny tiny tent, it was totally terrible, and I took that tent up to the top of Slave Binion, a mountain in that direction. I was going to do the same thing today, but there's really low cloud cover. The weather up there is absolutely miserable. It's not really what these teeny tiny, totally not terrible tents are designed for. So instead, I remembered that the map I use for planning all my routes, Hiker has a new historical map function. So I can load up a map that's 200 years old, and I'm going to try and use that to find the remains of an old dwelling place and hopefully camp there. Now, if we're lucky, or perhaps unlucky as the case might be, this might end in disaster because it's been raining really heavily all this morning, so the rivers are in flood. On the 200-year-old map, there's a bridge over the river, but what I don't know is that bridge still going to be? Oh dear. We seem to have come up against an obstacle immediately. Ow! So if I, ow! 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 It's scratchy. If I get to the river and the bridge isn't there, I'm gonna have to attempt to cross the river. Ow! Oh, there was... I could have just went around that. If I'm reading this correctly, I'm about to go right. Yep. Looking at the map, the old road just follows this wall along here. There's still a lot of brambles and nasty stuff down here. Ow, 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 ow! So far, this has been entirely unpleasant. So what's the point of a teeny tiny, totally not terrible ultralight tent anyway? Well, for me, it's so I can do this. It's so I can fast pack. It's so I can trail run and camp at the same time. Oh, come on. Now this is just taking the mick. How am I? I've got barbed wire in front of me and a gorse bush behind me. Oh! Full disclosure, the tent that I'm going to be using tonight was sent to me by Vango. It's a tent that I researched and then pestered them for ages to send me one for review. They eventually relented, but they have not given me any money, and everything I will be saying about this tent is my own opinion, including the good, the bad, and the ugly. If there is any ugly, I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. Ow. Ow! Ow! Oh, come on. The path has literally turned into a river. Right, I should probably go back. I've just given up at this point, but according to the map, I'm about to come out and then I will join onto the country lane, which will take me, ow, up into the mountains. I should pass by maybe an old dwelling or two, and eventually I should cross a bridge, and on the other side of that bridge there should be some old ruins. So that is where we're heading. I'm never coming through here in shorts ever again. Hi sheep. Bye sheep. that style? Right. I hate running uphill at the minute. I'm not fit at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the cameras away, stick on my headphones, listen to some music and just get into the zone and head up the hill. And if you're a trail runner and you're thinking about getting a pair of headphones, can I highly recommend these. These are the Shox Open Run Pro 2. Shox, the type of headphones I've been using the most for my running, and these are the best ones they've produced yet. I mean, brands always say that, but it's always true, because when are they ever going to bring out a product that was worse than their last one? These are really good. They got some really nice fancy technology in them. I'm not going to go into it. If you want to find out more details, it's in the description. But yeah, I recommend them. Right, up we go.
I heard a ringing bell this morning, and it woke me from a dream. And in that dream I heard a warning, saying leave the rest, take only what you need.
By the way, if you're somebody who has been following this channel and you came here because of the running content, I have now created a new spin-off channel called Run with Steve, and that is where more casual running content and race videos are going to live from now on. This is really interesting here. If you look in here, you'll see this? You see all that foam? Well, that is the remnants of a leprechaun bubble bath. This is where they come to wash after a day of running through the hills and protecting their pots of gold. They come to little streams like this and have a bubble bath. Huh. I was not expecting to find this up here. I was expecting to find ruins here. Ooh, look at that. That's the river that I'm gonna have to cross. This is Trespassing with Steve, the part of the show where Steve does some trespassing. Okay, there's a padlock there. I draw the line at crossing a locked gate. Aha. The road is now starting to disappear. That would explain why the bit further on down wasn't overgrown. Somebody must have that. Even if they don't use it regularly, it must be like a holiday home or something used in the summer. Doesn't seem to be anybody there at the minute. Okay, moment of truth. Is the bridge still here? Ooh, that's not a bridge. That is very much not a bridge. That is a ford. Or as the Norwegians might say, a fjord. Well, I can honestly say that's officially the worst bridge I've ever used. Ugh, alright. Okay, let's see if we can find this old farmhouse. Well, I found the ruined farmhouse, and for the looks of it, it was more than just a farmhouse. It looks like there's a couple of dwellings up here, or barns, who knows, but probably at least a couple of families lived up here. You can actually still see the quality of the brickwork. Look how plumb that is. Whoa, look at the size of that boulder. It's massive. You would think, as this is somewhere that people lived, it would be the perfect place to camp, but actually you'd be surprised how little flat ground there is, and there's so much of the ground here is covered in rocks that you couldn't camp within any of the walls or any of the buildings because it's all rocks underneath. This spot here, I'm hiding in here because I took so long to decide where I wanted to pitch up. It is now absolutely pouring out there. I mean, it pitches out here first, so it'll be fine, but still, I think this will blow over in about 15 minutes, and then I'll pitch the tent. Okay, the rain is not going to die down as much as I hoped it's going to, so I think I just got to get this tent pitched. So here's what's absolutely ridiculous. This is my pillow. This is my tent. The pillow is more than half the size of the tent. This is 500 grams for a 2-skin tent. Now it comes with 3 pegs that look like this for the main peg out points, but then the other pegs that it comes with are these. I don't know if you can see that. These tiny little titanium tooth peg picks. Now these look like they'll do absolutely nothing. Actually, in sort of fairly solid packed soil, these work better than expected, and they weigh 1 gram each. But I want it to be covered for slightly larger variety of scenarios, so I added in 4 carbon fiber pegs just to give me a little bit more leeway.
To pitch the tent, you add the small pole at the foot end, peg in each of the 4 corners, add the central pole, and then use the Velcro tabs to secure it. Attach the inner to the pole, peg out the guy lines in the other loops, and then finally attach the inner floor bungees to the corner pegs, and you're good to go.
Let's get inside and get dried off. Alright, welcome inside. Can I inflate my mat without having to leave this? Success! I look like I'm trying to go surfing. I'll bring my smallest tent and I'll bring my largest pillow. It's huge. Well, at least it'll be cozy. I've made one little modification here. I've added a little carabiner. So that means when I want to, I can unhook this, pull the inner back, and that'll give me more space. There's one little loop up here. Quick tour of the tent from the outside. Here's the tent from the outside. The material is super thin. It's not designed to be used in like really heavy continuous torrential rain, which I don't think I'll get tonight. Let's see if I can actually cook in here. I'm gonna undo the little carabiner, and then that will let me. I am a genius!
5 minutes later, Stephen set himself on fire.
I always practice setting this up first just to see how everything will sit. Okay, so that'll sit like that. The reason I'm using an alcohol stove is these don't flare up. I would not use a gas stove in here, because gas has a habit of going. See, it's actually nearly difficult to light. Now we gotta extinguish this. That could be difficult. Well, that was easy. Barely an inconvenience. Now, if you watch my last tiny tent video, you might be hoping that I'm going to eat something absolutely disgusting tonight. Well, I learnt my lesson last time. Tonight we're eating... What are we eating? Minced beef hot pot. Hey Siri, set a timer for 10 minutes. Hey Siri, set a timer for 10 minutes. Oh, don't let me go... Hey Siri, set a timer for 10 minutes.
10 minutes, counting down.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It looks vaguely like real food, just it's hard to get potatoes wrong. Hot pot is good. Oh yeah, here's another thing I do as a filmmaker. I'm sitting here right now and I've just realised, okay, my eyebrows, because I've got massive ridgy eyebrows, my eyes are totally in shadow, which makes me seem kind of creepy, so I really need to sit here. If I sit here, I'm friendly. If I lean in like this, mysterious. If I sit here, it's like, hey, how are you doing today? Tell me where the money is. Lighting matters. Lighting matters, and it's difficult. It's difficult to apply professional production standards to YouTube videos, especially when you're camping in an absolutely minuscule tent. I'm going to let you into a little secret that I have told so many people. These dehydrated meal packets, one of the reasons I use these is because when you've done eating your meal, you're left with quite a strong, watertight, zip-locked pouch, which is the reason I don't have to leave my tent during the night. I don't, just to be clear, I don't poo in this. It's for number ones only. Imagine trying to poo in that. Could you do that? Whoa. That is some serious rain. You hear that wind? It's a good idea if it's a bit windy and you're going to attempt to cook in here. Probably sit with your head against the outer because a really strong gust of wind might like push it in a bit. It started to rain outside again, so this is the perfect opportunity for me to see, can I pack up all my stuff in here without having to leave the tent. Right. Success. Alright, that's the tent packed away in the top of the bag. I put it in there, I'm going to have to dry it out when I get home anyway, so there's no point fully packing it away. Let's get down out of this wind and I'll give you my final thoughts. Quickly, let's go through the good and the bad versus the Rab Ridge-Raider and whether or not I think it's a worthy replacement. Half the weight, it's also half the pack size. The Rab Ridge-Raider is actually, this has the same pack size as the Durston Axemid. You don't get the same flappy problem in wind with the Rab. With the Rab, because it was single layer, it was very, very narrow. If it was windy and it flapped at all, it would sort of hit against your sleeping bag or hit against your face, and it was kind of annoying. This is 2 layers and it's wider, so when it is windy, the sides do blow in, but I didn't really find they were hitting the inner that much, so I didn't get flapped around. Still not a tent I would use to pitch in really, really windy conditions, but it's good to know if it is a little bit windy, I'm not going to have that issue. Ton more space in this. You've got storage on the side, you've got storage at your head. It's so much easier to get things organized, and you've got little, you know, you've even got a hook so you can put a light up. You can't sit up in it, but you can kind of prop yourself up on your elbow. And as I showed, there is actually enough space to cook inside if needed. Although, don't make the mod I made. I'll explain why in a minute. It's stealthy, it's green, it's low profile, so it can be used for more stealthy camps. One of my favourite features compared to the refrigerator is it is so much easier to get in and out of. How much easier was that? Need I say anymore? Some downsides. It's slower and more complicated to pitch. It is prone to condensation. But to be honest, I did expect that, and I brought a little cloth with me so I could sort of wipe the door just so it didn't like slather me on the face. I mean, last night were the worst possible conditions. Low cloud, I was camping in a cloud. It was raining on and off all night. Plus I was boiling water inside the tent. Even though it did have lots of condensation, I didn't get damp or cold on the inside, and for me that's what matters. Condensation is only a problem if it ends up on you. If it stays up there and it runs down the sides and it goes away, that's fine. Once it gets transferred onto you, that's a problem. There were like a couple of places on the inner that got slightly damp, but to be honest, that was because I was pitched slightly sideways on a slope, so I kept sliding into the side, and then I pressed the side against the outer, and then that got a little bit damp. But I was warm, I was dry, and I was comfortable all night. It was just the inner had a tiny bit of damp on it. Bathtub floor, dry, not a problem. Now, the tiny little toothpick titanium pegs actually do work better than you'd think if you use them right, but they're not going to work in every circumstance, so it is worth adding a couple of pegs into the mix. Also, with them being so small, I feel like I'm going to lose them. Lastly, don't do that vestibule mod that I made, because, or at least if you do, be very, very careful, because when I was trying to reattach it, because it was just normal cord, I was pulling it a bit, and I jumped and tugged the inner, and I pulled out some threads on a tab on the other side. Now, I'm pretty sure I can fix it. But in hindsight, I probably either should have used shock cord to attach it, or to be honest, as it turned out, I didn't really need to do the mod after all. I can just set a shoe here, and that pulls the inner back enough. So I think actually I might just undo that mod and put it back to the way it was. I could put shock cord in there, but I think that cord is a specific length to maintain the shape of the tent, and if I replace it with shock cord, that's going to make it more stretchy. I don't know, I might experiment. To summarize, it is so much better than the refrigerator, and it's exactly what I want in a totally not terrible tiny tent. Tiny pack size, ridiculously lightweight, and perfect for fair weather conditions when I want to do fast packing, and I'm really happy with it. And this is probably going to be my last ultralight trip this year. We're now into October. The weather is very much turning, and yeah, there'll not be very many days ideal for using a tent like that. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more, why not subscribe? Why not hit like? And if you want to get some other updates from me and maybe support the channel, there's always the Patreon. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye. And now I've got to fight my way back through those brambles, but thankfully this time I've got my waterproof trousers on.